Welcome to this weekend's show, everyone. It's a quick turnaround in MLS after we just saw a full slate of games on Wednesday, and now Week 30 kicks off this weekend with 12 games on Saturday and another 2 more on Sunday. Before I jump into some of these games, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more MLS picks all season long. Now let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it on this long weekend. And I'm starting in Cincinnati and Orlando. Cincinnati won in Atlanta midweek. That clinches their playoff position. They're the first team to do so this season, and keeps them on pace to break the all-time points record for the regular season. Cincinnati also won 3-0 over New York City FC in MLS. They drew with Miami 3-3 in the US Open Cup, losing in PKs, and they lost 3-0 to Columbus since the League's Cup. That 3-0 loss was the only time they failed to score in all competitions in their last 11 games, and that was on the road. At home, Cincinnati are still incredibly unbeaten this season in MLS at 12-1-0, and they've outscored their opponents 27-8. Even more incredible is the fact that they're undefeated in regulation at home in all competitions in 19 games. They've also scored a goal in 36 straight home games across all competitions. Orlando, meanwhile, they're the best road team in MLS this season at 6-4-3. They have 22 points in those games. The Lions aren't generally known for wide open games in past seasons, but if you look at their results lately, there have been plenty of goals in their games. Since the League's Cup, they won 3-1 on the road, won 2-1 at home, and drew 1-1 on the road. On the road this season, the over is also 9-4 in Orlando's games. They're an impressive 7-3-2 in all competitions of late, but both teams to score bets are also 7-0 in the past 7 games for Orlando. They've also seen both teams to score they've scored 10 in 10 of those 12 games, and they've also conceded in 10 of those 12 games as well. So while the offense is flowing, they've not been tight defensively. This looks like it could be another both teams to score bet. Cincinnati's home form, though, would surely tip the scales in their favor if you wanted a straight bet to just go Cincinnati win. My first parlay of this week, though, is going to be just Cincinnati to score. Moving along, I'm going to go to New England and Austin. Now, New England are another team this season who have been great at home. They're still undefeated at 10-3-0, and they've scored 30 goals while allowing just 10 at Gillette Stadium. They've scored in every home game in MLS this season as well. In fact, they've won each of their past 6 home games. They've won each of their past 6, and they've outscored their opponents 15-4 in those games. New England's recent results were a 1-0 road loss to Montreal and a 1-0 home win to the Red Bulls. Austin are just outside the playoff picture in the West. They're 9-5-12 overall. Their road form, though, is average at 3-2-8. It's actually the 7th best in the West, but their defense has been incredibly leaky. Away from home, they've allowed 28 goals, which is actually the second most goals in all of MLS of any team. Only Montreal has allowed 31, and that is the worst goals allowed on the road. Austin have also allowed a goal in every road game this season, and they've allowed multiple goals in 8 of their 13 road games in MLS. Now, home or away, no matter the competition, they're also in poor form right now. They lost 3-1 twice in the League's Cup, and in their return to MLS, they've lost 6-3, 1-0, and 2-1 in recent weeks. New England should win this if you're looking for a single bet, or in this parlay, just New England to score. And the third leg of my parlay will go to Dallas and Atlanta. Dallas are 9th in the West right now with 33 points. Atlanta are 6th in the East with 41 points. Dallas are more of an under team this season, and they're just 11-14 to over-unders, and their average goals per match are 2.2. Atlanta, though, they're more of an over team. They're 19-8 to over-unders of 2.5, and their games average the joint highest goals per match this season at 3.3, tied alongside St. Louis and Columbus. Dallas's 2 games since League's Cup were a 1-0 win over Austin and a 2-1 loss to St. Louis. But the winner in Austin came in the 97th minute, and in the St. Louis game, they were tied 0-0 until the 82nd when 3 more goals were scored. So Dallas games have been very close here, regardless of there still being goals in their last couple of games. Still, in all competitions, over 1.5 has hit in 9 of 11 for Dallas, and at home, over 1.5 has hit in 12 of 14 across all competitions for them lately. My bet here has a lot to do with Atlanta. Across all competitions in 30 games during the 2023 calendar year, there have been over 1.5 goals in Atlanta's games in 27 of 30. Now, player-wise, you have to look at the status of Dallas striker Jesus Ferreira. Dallas are 7-1-0 when he scores, and they're 1-8-7 when he doesn't. Ferreira has been out for Dallas since losing to Miami in the League's Cup. He does apparently have COVID-19, so it's still unsure if he will be in this game, which could affect some goal scoring and certainly Dallas's chances to win this game. Now, if he plays, both teams to score looks like a good bet. Without him, I'm a little less confident, but I still like over 1.5 goals. Atlanta have scored in 8 of 9 since the Leagues Cup. They won 2-0 in Seattle, won 4-0 at home to Nashville, and they lost 2-1 to Cincinnati. Giamakis has 2 goals and 1 assist in his last 3 MLS games, while Thiago Almada has 1 goal and 3 assists in that time. I think we can at least see 2 goals in this match one way or another. So let's go over 1.5 between Dallas and Atlanta, New England to score, and Cincinnati to score. That comes in at -152 odds. Next up, we'll move along the schedule later in the night, and it's Sporting Kansas City and St. Louis. This new MLS rivalry should have some fireworks after St. Louis won the first meeting earlier this season 4-0 in the very first meeting between these teams. It was an embarrassing result for Peter Vermes, playing against a new rival and an expansion team. But St. Louis have proven to not be a normal expansion team this year. They're first in the West and they're second overall in the Supporters' Shield standings. Since the Leagues Cup, they won 6-3, they lost 2-1, and they won 2-1. That makes bets on over 2.5, 10-2 in their past 12. The big news for St. Louis is that injured DP striker Jacques Claus returned this past week, and he's come on as a sub in the last 2 games. And also, summer transfer Nokvi scored his first goal versus Dallas earlier this week. Bets on over 1.5 all season in any game for St. Louis have been an incredible 27-3, and in MLS alone, it's 23-3. So there's been goals usually coming from both sides all over the place in St. Louis games. SKC are on the outside looking in for the playoffs right now, in 11th spot in the West, but they should be fully focused on this game. Not only because they'll want a better showing after losing 4-0 last game, but also because they've only played 1 game this past month. They played just 3 games in the Leagues Cup, and they were off after they got knocked out since August 4th. Their only game after that was playing last weekend, winning 3-0 at home to San Jose. They were also off midweek while St. Louis played against Dallas Wednesday, so again, they'll hold the rest advantage there and have had all week to focus on this game. As a single bet, I do think SKC probably gets the revenge and wins at home. You could also look at both teams to score, or both teams to score in over 2.5, also looks good. Just in case, SKC though just comes out and they're the only team that contributes, let's just go over 1.5. And the next one will be LA Galaxy and the Houston Dynamo. The Galaxy have only 1 loss in 10 games in MLS, and they're being carried to a potential, albeit unlikely, playoff chase by Ricky Puig, who scored in each of his last 3 games. The Galaxy overall have scored multiple goals in 8 of those 10 MLS games as well. But Houston are rolling as well right now, with wins in 6 of 7 games in all competitions, and they have won 5-0, 3-0, and 2-0 in their last 3 league games. Despite a poor road record of 2-3-8, that 3-0 win did come away from home in Salt Lake. Houston won 3-0 at home back in April when these teams played, and that's the 4th straight time someone in this head-to-head series has scored 3 goals. There have not been fewer than 2 goals scored in any of the past 13 meetings. Both teams are in good form here, so I do see goals coming from both teams. That would only be -188. You could make that a little bit better if you add in the over 2.5 as well. In this parlay, I'll go both teams to score between the Galaxy and the Dynamo, and we'll round out this 3-leg parlay in a Cascadia rivalry between Seattle and Portland. It's the 3rd meeting between these rivals this season, with Portland winning at Providence Park 4-1 in April, and the teams drawing 0-0 at Lumen Field in June. For all of Seattle's recent success in past years overall, despite this being their biggest rival, the Sounders have struggled immensely versus the Timbers in recent years, and specifically at home. Portland won both games last season, and they are 4-2-0 versus Seattle in the past 6 games. At home, Seattle hasn't defeated their rivals since 2018, which is now a stretch of 7 games. Now that could change here, with Seattle coming in off a high, winning 2-1 in Austin on Wednesday. Portland too, though, they're coming off a win. They won 2-1 over RSL, but they had lost 3-2 and 5-0 in their games prior, and that cost head coach Gio Savarese his job. The Timbers have just 2 wins though in 9 and 3 in 14, so they're definitely in poor form. Now, not that Seattle have been in great form themselves, but they are off a win against coming off a win, playing against a rival who's in poor form. The Timbers, they're at home. Seattle probably does win this game if you're looking for a single bet. The last time these teams played, head coach Brian Schmetzer was so embarrassed by the result that he said it wasn't even a rivalry anymore because Seattle has been so unsuccessful of late. So Seattle at home should be fired up for this. You could look to a Seattle win, but win, lose, or draw, Seattle surely gets on the board in my mind. So we'll go Seattle to score. So that will be Seattle to score, LA and Houston, both teams to score, and SKC and St. Louis over 1.5 at plus 113 odds in this parlay. Now let's move over to Sunday. There are 2 games on Sunday, and one of them looks like the game of the round easily, with LAFC hosting Inter Miami and, of course, Leo Messi. MLS Cup champs LAFC, they are second in the West. They'll host Messi and Miami, who are trying to accomplish the near impossible and qualify for the MLS Cup playoffs. Now, after Miami reeled off wins in 9 straight since Messi put on that pink jersey, winning the Leagues Cup, advancing to the US Open Cup final, and winning their first game back in MLS, Miami came back down to earth just slightly on Wednesday as they drew 0-0 at home against Nashville, which was the team they beat in the Leagues Cup final. Now, their playoff margins, they're razor thin right now. They only have 10 games left in the season, and they are 10 points out of the playoffs, and there are 4 other teams between them in that final playoff spot. Miami can't afford to not go all out here, especially with Messi set to miss some time coming up on international duty. And that will surely create some scoring chances for them as they need to attack, and we've seen them score plenty of goals since Messi came into the lineup, but it will also likely expose a defense that still has many holes that LAFC should be able to exploit with Dennis Bouanga and Carlos Vela. LAFC suffered a surprise 2-1 road defeat in Charlotte last weekend, which has been the case for them all season long as they look amazing one week and then struggle the next week. They had just routed Colorado 4-0 in the game prior before losing to Charlotte, which was a game they would have been expected to win. Their defense also just suffered a loss as they've loaned out center back Mamadou Fall to Barcelona. Now, bets on over 2.5 have been consistent for LAFC though, and they are now 6-1 in their past 7. Bets on over 2.5 would be 6-1 in the past 7 for LAFC. For Miami's 0-0 draw that last game versus Nashville, it was the first time with Messi in the lineup that Miami failed to score, and also that their game finished with fewer than at least 2 goals scored. Of the 5 road games Miami has played with this new look roster, they've conceded in 4 of them. Only the goal-starved Red Bulls failed to get on the score sheet. This, I'm just going to go as a single straight bet and go both teams to score over 2.5. There just looks to be too much talent on the field, and neither defense is perfect. So I think we can see goals from both sides and at least a second from someone. That comes in at minus 125 odds. Now also, while this won't be a bet, an official bet, there's one more game on Sunday. So let's just touch on that quickly. And it is the earlier game on Sunday, and it's Philadelphia and the Red Bulls. This looks like a tight one. These teams played this season in MLS, and Philadelphia won 1-0 in New York. Then they played again in the Leagues Cup and in Philly, and the teams drew 1-1. With the Union going on to win that game in penalties. Now let's look at some of these over-under stats. Philadelphia and head-to-head stats. Philadelphia is now 3-0 in the past 11 meetings with New York. Now, in those 11 games, the under 2.5 is 9-2. The under 2.5 is also cashing at a perfect 8-0 clip in the last 8. And here are also some home and road numbers for these teams. New York is just 1-4-7 on the road, and they've scored just 6 goals all season long. However, they've only conceded 14 goals, so that makes the under 2.5 10-2 this season in New York's road games. Now, they should be fired up here after the last time these teams played. Philadelphia head coach Jim Curtin said he was tired of the Union's little brother running their mouths. Now, I mean, he wasn't necessarily wrong since Philadelphia has dominated New York, but it still should give the Red Bulls a little extra fire here, and maybe they rise up and end some of this dominance that Philadelphia has had. However, they are going on the road to Philadelphia, and at home, Philadelphia is a juggernaut. They're 8-2-0 this season in MLS. They've scored 23, and they've allowed only 7 goals. In all competitions, they have 1 home loss in 17. That was against Miami, and they have only 2 home losses in their past 40 across all competitions, dating way back into last season, and even further. They'll also be pumped up to respond after they had a shocking loss to the Eastern Conference basement dwellers Toronto FC on Wednesday. They were definitely expected to win that game and lost to a Toronto FC team that hadn't won in 13 games. So on its own, to me, this game would look like an under or a draw if you were looking for a single bet. You could also be extra safe and go under 3.5 instead of under 2.5 in a parlay piece. It's not going to fall into my best bets this week, but I just wanted to touch on some interesting stats from that game since there were only 2 games on Sunday. So to wrap this up, our MLS Week 30 picks, we have Cincinnati to score, New England to score, Dallas and Atlanta over 1.5, and then Sporting Kansas City and St. Louis over 1.5, LA and Houston, both teams to score, and Seattle to score. And then on Sunday, both teams to score and over 2.5 between LAFC and Miami. So there you have it. Those are all of my MLS Week 30 picks. Be sure to drop your picks in the comments below for this round. And if you're looking for more soccer picks, I've done another video with soccer picks and predictions and parlays across all the top European leagues for this weekend, and you can find that right up there, so be sure to check that out. And no matter what league you're betting though, good luck with all of your picks this holiday long weekend.